things change. And now, what are we told currently? When they listen to what I say, they say, what is your solution to Iraq? We know that we shouldn't have gone in. We know it's a mistake. We just can't leave. And of course, my answer to the debate was, well, we just marched in. We can just march out. But the arguments are very similar that I listened to in 1960. They say, well, no, there's going to be chaos. Who are the individuals who are telling us there'll be chaos if we leave? The same individuals who said that if we marched in, it would be a cakewalk, wouldn't cost us anything because we'd have control of the oil and the oil would pay all the bills, and we're supposed to listen to that. I say that is nonsense. We ought to listen to our Constitution and to common sense. But we are in a mess, and a lot of people, even that didn't like the war at the beginning, said it's too difficult to leave. But I still argue the case, even from a medical viewpoint. I keep thinking that as a physician, if we would ever make a diagnosis, and sometimes we make presumptive diagnosis, and sometimes we'll try a medication, and we'll see what happens. But if you get your test back and you find out, oh, it's something different than we thought, and it's the wrong medication. And the doctor refuses to change course and refuses to treat it, and here the medication is actually doing harm. So what would you do? Would a doctor ever pursue this and say, well, but I don't want to admit that I'm wrong? This is about the obsession that we have in our foreign policy. They will not admit, even though the people finally get around to demanding, and that's where we are right now. And if for no other reason, the demands are going to get louder and louder. For similar reasons to the 1960s, because of the cost. Not only cost in life, but the monetary cost, the economic cost. And this is what's coming about right now. Because it is estimated that we're spending, for our whole foreign policy, our empire regime costs us $1 trillion a year. We've spent well over $1 trillion worth of wars going on. Currently, Stiglitz, the Nobel Prize winner, has estimated that the total cost of this war, at the rate we're going, is somewhere between $3 and $5 trillion. And it looks like there's no end. At the same time, the middle class is being wiped out because we pay our bills by printing money, prices go up, which is a tax, and now they say, oh, why is food prices going up? Why is the cost of education going up? Why is the cost of medical care going up? Why is the cost of gasoline going up? Well, it's because the value of the dollar is going down because we keep doing these things that we shouldn't be doing. And they claim we were over there to protect our oil. Well, oil was $27 a barrel when we were over there. Now it's $115 a barrel. It doesn't make any sense, but they won't change course. They are obsessed with this policy, and it comes from all sources. There's a lot of different reasons that pressure is put on first to go over there and then to stay. Sometimes it's just neoconservative idealism, which is a continuation of some of the idealism of Woodrow Wilson, that said it is our moral duty and responsibility to make the world safe for democracy. So he pushed us into World War I, which contributed to the very problem we have today, because the Versailles Treaty was the treaty that created this new country of Iraq with the artificial borders, and problems go on and on. The only way you can hold an artificial country together is big dictatorships. And it's okay if there are friendly dictators, but then when we get unhappy with our so-called dictators, then we have to get rid of those dictators. You know, it just goes on and on. In the 1980s, Saddam Hussein was our buddy. You know, we encouraged him to invade Iran. We were on bad terms with the Iranians, so we encouraged them to fight that war. But then conditions changed. Now Saddam Hussein is our enemy. Of course, when the Soviets illogically took on a war that didn't make any sense to them, when they invaded Afghanistan, and then there was a resistance movement by some dedicated Muslims, led by, or at least involved with, Osama bin Laden. We called him a freedom fighter, and then we helped him. And now, of course, the tide has changed, the tables have turned, and everything is different right now. And you can go on and on all the examples. Currently, in order to try to stabilize Iraq, we have decided after many, many years since we overthrew their government, is now we have finally decided to arm 80,000 Sunnis. Some of the people that used to work for, it was the henchmen of Saddam Hussein. So we are arming them with American weapons. And they promised not to kill anybody until they got all the arms. But the tragedy is that those arms are more, so likely to be turned against us in due time. We now have done more to help the Iranians than anything conceivable. Think about what has happened. The government that we support, the Maliki government, are Shiites, and they're very friendly with the Iranians. And they're allies. So we got rid of Saddam Hussein, who did not get along with the Iranians, and we got rid of Osama, or the Taliban, that did not get along with the Iranians. And so we more or less have turned the government of Iraq over to the Iranians. And what are we saying now? Oh, the Iranians, we have to deal with them, and believe me, they're getting ready to in a dangerous way, because the Iranians have sent some weapons to al-Sadr and his people. Well, al-Sadr is a nationalist. He doesn't want to have anything to do with them. He doesn't want to be controlled by the Iranians. And so we're sponsoring a government that the Iranians are sponsoring, and yet we're on the verge of going to war against the Iranians. It just goes on and on. It just is so much common sense. It makes constitutional sense. And it also makes financial sense that we can't continue this. So foreign policy of intervention is something that has to be changed, and it offers us this tremendous opportunity to get our house in order. In the 1970s, we suffered for the guns and butter attitude of the 1960s. In the 70s were bad. Inflation, high unemployment rate, interest rates up to 21%. And yet the economic conditions back then were so much better than today. We were a creditor nation. Now we're a debtor nation. We owe foreigners so much money. The dollar is in much worse condition today than ever before. And we now are starting to pay the price, because we've been printing money, and we have been given this opportunity to have the reserve currency of the world. It used to be backed by gold. The world forgot that it wasn't backed by gold anymore, but they kept taking our dollars. Then we wondered why we started buying things from foreigners, why jobs went overseas. But now it's payback time, because we got away with 10, 15, 20 years of just printing money, quit working, no savings, and now they hold our dollars and they're starting to buy us up. And they're going to dump dollars, and they can bring us to our knees if they want. And we need to straighten this out. And the reason why I talk about foreign policy in association with the economic policy is that we need not only to bring our troops home, we need to bring our money home to help the people in this country and not subsidize the whole world.